You're listening to Northern Lights Radio, broadcasting across the upper Midwest from Duluth, Minnesota. It's February 2nd, 1943. We begin tonight's program with an unusual story out of Cook County, near the Border Lakes region, just shy of the Canadian line. A local trapper, Mr. Walter Drury, age 47, has been reported missing after failing to return from a routine check on his trapline northeast of Saganaga Lake. Drury left his cabin the morning of January 28th, expecting to be out no more than 2 nights. When he had not returned by Sunday evening, 2 fellow trappers set out along his usual trail. They located his sled and dog team late Monday, tied off and stationary, roughly 6 miles into the bush. The dogs were alive, but in visible distress, and had not been fed in some time. Drury's snowshoes and pack were missing from the sled. His rifle was still strapped to the side. His tracks were followed a short distance east, leading toward a low drift. According to the man who found them, the prints stopped just before a patch of disturbed snow. One of the trappers described the area as looking, quote, like the snow had caved in from below. Cook County authorities have launched a formal search. At the time of broadcast, no further developments have been reported. Some of the locals have begun suggesting there's something unusual in those woods, something they've heard about before, though not in many years. Among older trappers, it has a name. They call it the Snow Wasset.
The Snow Wasset is not a creature you'll find in modern cryptid databases or national news stories. It doesn't make appearances in grainy trail cam footage or late-night talk shows. Instead, its name is mostly found in a handful of dusty folklore books and oral traditions from North America's northernmost forests. Said to inhabit the deep woods of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Canadian Shield, the Snow Wasset belongs to a forgotten branch of creature lore, one known as the fearsome critters. These were animals imagined and described by loggers, trappers, and woodsmen in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Sometimes humorous, sometimes cautionary, these stories were told in bunkhouses and around stoves, passed from camp to camp as a kind of oral folklore. Many of these creatures were exaggerated for humor: jackalopes, hoop snakes, and other tongue-in-cheek creations meant to tease greenhorns or entertain crews during long winter nights. But not all of them were entirely playful. Some, like the Snow Wasset, carried a different tone, less whimsy, more warning. Descriptions vary, but most accounts describe the Snow Wasset as a long-bodied carnivorous creature resembling a wolverine or weasel, only larger. In warmer months, it was said to grow stubby legs and move sluggishly through the underbrush. But in winter, it changed form, shedding its limbs entirely and becoming a serpentine burrower, capable of gliding beneath deep snowdrifts with speed and silence. Hunters and woodsmen told of strange disturbances in the snow, smooth, shallow troughs with no beginning or end, of dogs refusing to cross open fields, of travelers vanishing without signs of struggle, their last footprints leading into nothing. Its behavior, according to legend, was ambush-based. The Snow Wasset would lie beneath the snow, listening for movement above, then burst upward in a flurry of white to seize its prey. It left no trail, no tracks, and no second chances. One of the earliest written references to the Snow Wasset appears in a 1910 folklore collection titled Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, a satirical bestiary compiling the kinds of stories loggers told one another in bunkhouses and around stoves. The entry is brief, and to date, no serious follow-up accounts have been recorded. The creature seems to vanish from folklore as quietly as it's said to move through the snow. Unlike creatures rooted in indigenous myth or modern cryptozoology, the Snow Wasset has no spiritual connotations, no divine warnings. It is quite simply a predator. Its origins remain uncertain. Some say it was inspired by sightings of real animals. distorted by fear, fatigue, or the strange acoustics of frozen wilderness. Others believe it was never meant to be taken literally. Just another fireside tale born from the psychological weight of winter. Hunger, isolation, and the ever-present threat of vanishing without a trace. Still, in the years that followed, similar patterns would emerge. Footprints where there shouldn't be any, troughs in the snow with no clear cause. Reports from people who had never heard the name, but described something all too familiar. Like many creatures of folklore, the Snow Wasset may not have a single origin, but instead be a convergence of older fears and familiar forms, stitched together by the people who lived closest to the land. Though the creature appears uniquely suited to deep winter terrain, its behavior, ambushing from below, vanishing without a trace, bears resemblance to other stories found in North American wilderness lore. The Hidebehind, for example, was said to stalk loggers from just outside their field of vision, snatching victims in silence and leaving no sign of struggle. The Snow Snake, another fearsome critter, explained sudden illnesses or collapses in frigid conditions. And in Algonquin traditions, the Wendigo, though spiritual in nature, was often described as a predatory presence tied to winter, hunger, and the wilderness consuming the lost. None of these legends are direct matches, but they reflect a common thread, an unease with what thrives in the cold and what the snow might hide. From a scientific standpoint, the Snow Wasset legend may have roots in real-world phenomena that are more unsettling when they first appear. Subnivean zones, the spaces between the snowpack and ground, are used by rodents and small predators to navigate unseen. In rare cases, even medium-sized animals like foxes or wolverines may dive beneath the surface, disappearing entirely. A person encountering a sudden collapse in this kind of terrain might perceive it as something erupting from below. Certain terrain features can also produce unexpected track patterns. Light powder snow, heavy wind, or partial melting can obscure, distort, or erase footprints within minutes, leaving what looks like a clean vanishing point. To a lone traveler in low visibility, those distortions can become narratives of their own. Then there's the psychological factor. In cold environments, human perception changes. Exhaustion, dehydration, and hypothermia all degrade judgment. Shadows stretch longer. Sounds carry in strange ways. A hunter or trapper, isolated for days, exhausted, perhaps already a little off balance, might see a strange set of marks in the snow and hear a rustle behind them, and begin to fill in the rest. But even with these explanations, there's something in the way stories like the Snow Wasset linger. A name half remembered. A local warning that doesn't sound like a joke. A moment when you pause, just for a second, before crossing a field of unbroken snow. Most legends fade, but some remain buried just beneath the surface.